What's going on, everybody? It is time for episode number 32 of ChangeMakers. We have not had a show in a couple months. It's great to be back, great to be creating content with people that are amazing to talk to, amazing to listen to, and amazing to learn from. We've had a wide range of stories with ChangeMakers, which has always been great. We've had people that have helped people get out of the KKK. We've had American Ninja Warriors. We have had people that have overcome trauma to help other people. This is one of those type shows where we share positivity. We share people that have done good in the world. We share people that are changing the world and all the different great things in this life, because we all at the same time have the ability to be change makers and create those ripple effects. We had that event this last weekend. Terrence Leffridge always talks about it perfectly. We create ripple effects. We don't have to create the biggest change, but we have to create the first ripple and create those ripple effects in the world. Today's guest is Dave Dahl. And I'm going to give him an introduction later, but the founder of one of the co-founder and also the creator of Dave's Killer Bread. So that's what today's show is about. We're going to talk everything from what he's gone through in his life, prison sentences, jail, failure, and then success, and then failure again, and then finding himself throughout it, and the people that he's helped and even the charities amidst that and all that turmoil and everything involved with that. And guess what? Dave also likes to talk politics. So not only do we talk about creating change on this episode, we're also going to talk about our view on the world. So as I get started, please do us a favor, hit the share button, hit the like button. I need to see more of those so people know that we have officially got started. And without further ado, let's get the party started. It's 30 seconds until showtime. What's going on, everybody? I am very excited about this episode. We have a fantastic guest on, and we're going to introduce him in just a second. As a lot of you guys know, we do this show called ChangeMakers, and we realize in this world there is not enough positivity, not enough stuff that creates the ability for us to come together as people and to change our lives. And remember, in order to change the world, you have to be the change you see in yourself at the same time. So we've got a fantastic guest that I'm very excited about. And again, I'll be looking at the comments, and please do us a favor, hit the like, hit the thumbs up. I see Eric, I see Marie, I need more comments. Susan, what's up? Let me know where you guys are from in the comment box. And we're gonna have just a real fun conversation with Dave, and I'm gonna tell you a little bit about him, and then he's gonna tell you everything else. We've got the creator and co-founder of Dave's Killer Bread. Like I said, 4 times sentenced to prison, jail numerous times across his life. He's gone up, he's gone down, and he's created one of the best organic breads or best-selling organic breads on the market. And now with a healed heart and mind, he steps back out of his mission to help inspire others to find their own brand of success. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcoming to the stage, Mr. Dave Dahl. What's going on, Dave?
Hi, what are you talking about? One of the best. Come on, man. It's number one. Number one.
It's a big deal when it's an organic product in Costco.
Right. That's another story in itself.
Oh, is it? Oh, I did not know that.
Oh yeah. Everything. I've got tons of stories, buddy.
Dave, do a favor. So I see people are talking about love his story. So some people know a little bit about it. So I want people to know real quick how I stumbled upon Dave. I bought the bread several times, but I was attending a Tony Robbins conference, and Dave was the guest. And I looked him up on Facebook because I really liked his story. And turns out I was like, I wonder if he's the kind of guy for me. And we looked, and not only does he talk a little bit about positivity, African art collection out the wazoo, he also is a fellow patriot. I'm like, I got to become friends with Dave, plain and simple. So
Yeah.
Dave, go to your background. Tell us a little bit about, let's start from scratch and all the times that you went to jail before you created Dave's Killer Bread.
That's a long story, but you know, I grew up with lack of self-esteem. I went to private Seventh Day Adventist schools, which, you know, there's probably nobody out there that did that, you know, but you never
Yeah.
know. And you know, it's just kind of weird. My life was weird growing up, and I didn't like myself. I didn't like my life. I didn't like growing up as a baker, and my dad was the ultimate, you know, baker in a way. And but he was an asshole, and I personally developed my assholiness with his help. So anyway, I went to prison 4 times. You know, but it was all based on drugs. You know,
Yeah.
I did methamphetamine. The methamphetamine that I discovered when I shot at my arm, it just changed everything for me. So it was like my first transformation, I like to say, and but it's the kind of transformation that I don't recommend for
How
anybody.
how old were you when you started doing drugs? And do me one favor if you could, Dave. Just kind of keep the phone centered. You're
I'll
good.
try.
I just want to see your face.
I don't want to see it though. Yeah. Okay. So, but my dad. Let me see if I can do this. I'll
There
try
you go.
to. I'll try to look like I'm. I'll try to look at it. Okay.
Oh, you're looking good.
My dad was also a Seventh Day Adventist, but he he called himself a backslidden Seventh Day Adventist, and whatever that means. It's kind of like, well, I used to be, but I'm not. He still believed the Adventist thing, and by the time I was in my teens, I didn't believe it anymore at all. And even though I was going to school for it and all that kind of stuff, I just didn't believe it. So I went out and started doing drugs, but the drugs I was doing in those days were like weed, you know, a little bit of cocaine, alcohol, whatever, but never to the level where, you know, you put a needle in your arm and all that kind of stuff, and you know what I mean. And so it wasn't until in my early 20s that I decided, you know, that I put a needle in my arm, and that was the big change.
Yeah. So one, you said that, and we've talked about scorch marks with people. Scorch marks are that moment in life that you remember, and they transform you, good or bad. So you said that was the first time. When was the first time you actually went to jail? Not prison, but first time you went to jail.
Oh, jail was 17. I was 17. I went to jail for drinking and just, you know, fighting and stuff like that. So the first that it was just a fight that I got into. And I woke up in the morning and I was covered in blood and all that kind of stuff. They thought I was older than I was. I always looked older than I am, you know. And they thought I was, you know, old enough to be in a drunk tank when I should have actually been uh, in in uh, in the kids jail.
Yeah.
And but they didn't do that. I never went to kids jail. I went straight to to adult stuff. And then my mom, but that particular time, I went to a concert. I went to a Journey concert, which dates me, of course. I went to a Journey concert and I ended up I drove my '69 Firebird, which was just a piece of crap. It really was. And I drove that, and it's funny when I came back to get it the next day. It was the only car out in the parking lot of this big, you know, Coliseum. And but anyway, it was a terrible thing. The next day I ended up going. I had junior class finals the next day, and I mostly laid my head on the desk all day long, you know. But I managed to get through my junior class, junior my junior year. Then I failed.
Yeah. So did you graduate from high school?
No, I didn't.
GED?
I got GD later. Yeah.
So what I like about stories like this is we'll get into it again because you ended up creating Dave's Killer Bread, which if you're on the shelves of any store, I don't care what brand you've created, it's a great story. And for those of you guys that are tuning in, I spoke to Cash earlier, and just the inspiration of knowing how many issues have happened in Dave's life, and the fact that it was a GED that he got, and the fact that there was mistakes, and there's also this facade of people that they feel like once they've stopped making mistakes, they're perfect. Dave understands that's not the case, and he also doesn't hide that, which is great. Because it's great learning for people. Because I always say perfection is such a dangerous thing because people see, especially the stuff on their cell phones, on Instagram, they see this and they think they have to achieve perfection because these people look like it when we're forgetting that 23 hours and 57 more minutes of their day, they're out there being human just like we are. So you went to jail times, drugs, fighting, etc. What was your first prison sentence for? And by the way, were you interested at this point in your life in bread at all anymore, or baking, or being into any of that? What were your interests when you were starting to get into trouble?
I was trying to find a way out of whatever it was I was in.
Yeah.
And I grew up with the family business and stuff, and nobody made any real money or anything. It was, and there was really not a lot of money to go around. It wasn't like I could just move up and, yeah, I didn't see the opportunity for success. And, my brother was 8 years older than me, Glenn, and it was basically his business, that to take over, but I didn't see there was an opportunity for me there. I didn't really see an opportunity for him, I mean, it wasn't all that, so it wasn't like, I could step in and make my way. So I'm out, I'm out basically trying to just, trying to create a life for myself. But really, it's like I was a guitar player, for instance. There were certain things that I did. I was never like Jimmy Page or any of those guys. He was, but
You were messing around a little bit, but having a good
yeah,
time and playing a little bit. I got you. I feel you.
yeah, and I felt like I could, if it felt like when I wanted to write a song, I didn't have anything to write about. Oh yeah, I took some bread out of the oven. So I was like, okay, I got to go out and create a story for myself. It's amazing that when looking back on it now, I go, wow, I did.
And it's interesting because people that I talk to a lot. They don't come from much, and it's amazing to have a thought process. And I don't know how much it was by chance or how much you thought this, but when people don't have much, the idea of having exponential income and having something that they can make themselves up and they could buy whatever car they want. That's not the option. They're to them making it is just two steps ahead, which is like I'm ahead on my mortgage, or I even have a mortgage and I can afford groceries and maybe even buy some organic foods or even afford Dave's Killer Bread. That's what like the next level for those people are. And you were at the bottom level, and somehow did you have the thought process that you could think bigger? Because it's not like your family was making a lot of money. How did you get from point A to point Z like that?
Well, in those early days, there's no way I thought about having. I didn't have a process of thinking big or anything like that. It was way later. I was 38 years old. I was suicidal. I was in prison for my fourth time, and I had this moment. And I've been thinking about it for a long time, but I finally decided to ask for help. And it's not like vocally asking for help. I had a piece of paper I dropped in the box in prison, and it was a big deal for me because nobody really wants to tell people about their problems in jail. You don't do that. You know what I mean? You're aggressive, not you just don't set yourself up for to be weakness, to be weak. And so I dropped the kite in a box. And they call it a kite, but it's an inmate communications forum. And it took me, I spent a very long night before I did that. I spent a very long night thinking about what am I going to kill myself, or am I going to do something about this? And so I dropped the kite in the box, and I don't know how long it took for them to bring me in, but when they did, I told them just enough, not the whole story, because you don't want to say, "Oh, I'm suicidal," but I told them just enough to get some medication. So there was a couple things at play here. There was the humility, there was the meds, and then there was right after that I got into school, and that school made me realize a lot of things. It made me realize I could design. Anything, machine parts, houses, uh, my life, and essentially that's what I did.
So when you were 38, so how many prison sentence terms have you had before that point? Was that all four leading up to that?
That was the fourth one.
That was the fourth one. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was the point that changed your life, and that was when you came out and created the act what we know of Dave's Killer Bread, correct?
That's right. Yep.
Can you give that story on how much when you had that epiphany and when you started going through that, how much after that did you get out of prison, and then how much after that did you start start Dave's Killer Bread, and did you elicit help from your family, etc.?
Oh yeah. I started talking to my brother, who, we had a lot of bad blood between us and stuff, but and there was a lot of stuff we had to overcome. And I got out of prison, and he put me to work. My mom had a little house with a garage, and I lived in the garage, and I was happy. And then at the same time, I got an opportunity to go to school. To work for $12 an hour. They didn't treat me like I was somebody special, but I got $12 an hour, and I worked for a lot of hours at $12 an hour, and then I worked for a bunch more hours for nothing because I had a plan. My brother helped me. He wanted me to create cookies. At first, he wanted me to redesign the cookie line. That was a pretty easy assignment.
How, out of curiosity, Dave, at this point, how much money was, ballpark, not like exacts, was the actual family business bringing in at that time?
I would say $2 or $3 million a year.
So they were doing all right at that point. It had changed a little bit when you were growing up. Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't. No. When I was growing up, they wasn't anything like that. But my brother had managed to turn it into a good co-packing facility.
Got it. Okay, and that's where you guys were making that income from. Okay, so then
I wasn't.
Well, your brother was. So he's trying to get you to make the cookies, and then what?
Well, I loved making the cookies. Once I figured out how to make the cookies and how to make them better, I was like, well, I'm going to make a bunch more cookies. But my brother comes to me and he goes, you know what? I just wanted you to fix the cookies. I don't want you to continue to create more cookies. That's not our deal. My brother had created a bread production line.
Okay.
And let's face it, that's what made this possible. You had this machine, that machine, that machine, that machine. This and my brother spent all his time, seems like, working on fixing all these machines. You know?
Yeah.
So that was, you got to give my brother some credit right there, right? That was what he brought to the table.
But that's
Uh,
huge though. And Dave, like, what's interesting because when I think of a bread like yours, like Dave's Killer Bread, you look at it and there's the seeds. It's healthy. So the ability for a bread like that to be mass produced is a really big deal. That's super important. So the
yeah,
fact that you had that put together is really a big deal for what you came in and did. So the cookies didn't the cookies worked, but you were trying to find a different way to utilize and make bread. So how did it transition now from the cookies to the bread? I just the whole because I actually wanted to know myself on how you make an organic and healthy bread and mass produce it. That was kind of in place. That was his I guess thing already.
yeah. My brother deserves a lot of credit just for creating the foundation that Dave's Killer Bread. It wouldn't have happened without my brother, and I would have gone somewhere else if I didn't see that there was an opportunity in the family business. And so I went back out there and, I did the cookies. And then Glenn was like, what we do is bread. And okay, all right, this is what we're set up for. And he said, we're basically set up to do things that the big guys can't. You know
Okay.
what I mean? You got Orwee, you got France. Well, I don't know if you know what France is, but big time players. And we couldn't compete with them on their level. We had to create something else. And so that's essentially what my brother tasked me with. He said, hey, you need to make something that they can't F with. You know what I mean?
You could say it. They can't f with it. They can't fuck with it. All right, I
Okay.
got you. You're
Hey,
comfortable.
okay.
So what again, I look at it, a guy that's been in prison 4 times, had issues with drugs. To me, in the back of my head, I'm not gonna be like, this guy's gonna want to make a super healthy organic bread. So how did that all, like, what did you guys agree that you needed to come up with something healthy and organic, or was that your passion?
Well, I mean, I could have chosen to go with anything. Uh, if I saw there was another opportunity that I thought was really powerful economically, from a business perspective. But again, our opportunity was more uh, to create whole grain bread products. It really was, and um, that was the opportunity. It wasn't necessarily organic, but we decided as we got a little further along that organic, we're going to make this the best product ever, and we're gonna make it organic. And so that means you're buying more expensive products, more expensive ingredients and things, and you're going to have to sell it for more money.
Right.
But I loved, the process is what's important. The process. I love the process of trying to figure it out, and the taking it out to the farmers market and test marketing. The whole thing is just an unbelievable experience.
How long did it take you to create the formula for Dave's Killer Bread?
Not long, but I'll tell you what. This is what I tell people: 43 years, because that's how old I was, and I didn't spend my life thinking about bread. I did not. But when I got out and I had gone through the drafting program and I understood a lot of things about designing, I was able to put two and two together and look at what's out there. What's out there? Okay. Uh, how it's good. Okay, this one's good. How do I make it better?
So and you're the perfect example of people talk about the overnight success and the iceberg. And that's the great thing when you say 43
My
years.
ass.
Yeah, my ass is right because ultimately, people that don't know your story, if you were to tell them just that element of like, we came up with this formula in a couple days, like it just worked, they're going to be like, oh, bullshit. And in all reality, it's 43 years of mistakes. It's 43 years of passion. And sometimes it's 43 years of creating a formula. In your case, it was 43 years of creating you, your character, and what you were focused on. And you guys just so happen to, in one of your instances, you came up with a great mix and a very successful product. I've seen a couple people, somebody up in the box said that they used to see you at the DKB. There it is. I've met Dave several times when he used to do the DKB bread shows. The Dave's Killer Bread shows.
Okay, I've done a lot of things, but I don't know what you're talking about right now.
I think it was just any of the bread shows. If you ever were actually at events or brought them out there, that's probably what she's talking about. So,
Well,
did you actually attend the bread shows?
I don't remember doing bread shows per se, but she might be talking about Costco.
Some of the shows.
Costco road shows.
The road shows? Okay, that might be it. So
that's cool.
How soon did you guys know that you had a successful product?
I kind of knew within a couple of months. At first I was like, the value of it, the cost of the product was going to be high. That was our concern. That we're selling this product that it's more expensive than any other product out, any other bread. And are people going to
spend the money?
Yeah, are they going to? Well, they did, and they were like, "Damn it, I'll pay another $1. What the hell? I'm going to get what I want." And so it was a new kind of idea in a way, in some ways, that we're making a Cadillac bread and a Ferrari bread, and so. It was challenging at first, but people, I knew pretty soon. I knew fairly soon that it was going to be cool, like within months.
Got it. Okay, so I didn't know what she meant by this comment. She said she really misses the Sin Dog. For somebody that doesn't know, now I get it. It's the Sin Dog was the best cinnamon roll log. She said it was great and sad that they discontinued it. You guys discontinued it.
Oh my God, yeah, it's the best loss leader ever. But when you get to that level, things change. They're like, okay, well, we're not. You look at the bottom line of something. The black. It's like this isn't a good bottom line product. But what it does is create a lot of buzz.
Yeah. So we've talked about the bread, but let's just kind of wrap this part of it with. So you're a guy that had drug problems.
I'm a guy.
You're a guy. You're a guy. Yes, we're not doing pronouns. You're a guy that had problems growing up, had issues with youth. You made a change. You then all of a sudden have probably more money than you ever expected or you knew what to do with. And then you got in trouble again in 2014. What was the path of things are going well, my life is different, I'm doing better, and then 2014 happened? Was it one bad thing or was it a spiral going into that?
Yeah, it was several bad things, but I can kind of say that what happened is I got successful and really successful. And I had an assistant, and in those days I had several assistants. Over time, I would keep changing assistants, and the whole thing was let's not do an assistant who's going to call out something I say and say it's harassment. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not a normal guy. I say things.
Say it as it is. When we get into talk 10 minutes of politics, people will understand. You say what's on your mind. That's life. That's what it is.
That's right. So I'm going to skip over a bunch of that.
Okay.
And I'm going to say that what happened is I ended up going to treatment. and for alcohol. And I went in 2013, middle of 2013, and all's good. I get out, I get in trouble again because I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just I go to a bar and I start drinking.
Right.
So one thing leads to another, and I ended up. I was with my wife too at the time. Now she wasn't my wife then; she is now. But one thing led to another again, and again I wasn't doing anything. Like you couldn't look at any of my behavior and go, "Oh man, this guy's rotten criminal son of a bitch," I
Yeah.
wasn't doing any of that. But uh, I was the president of the company at the time. We had a new CEO, somebody who's basically taking care of everything, essentially. And now I'm paying the thorn in the side of this guy, right? And it's thorn in the side of the investors who had bought half the company. So I decided, okay, I got in trouble because I went and I drank at this place, and so the word got back to the CEO. So what I did is I told him, hey, look, I can't do this. You know what I mean? I can't play this. I'm just gonna. And so we agreed. I'd take a sabbatical, whatever that means. I and I so I did. I was gone for a couple of months, and they had actually outlawed me or banned me from coming to my own company, my own what I call breadquarters. I wasn't able to even come there. But one day, somebody said, and there's this great big huge bodybuilder guy, right? He says, Dave, I need you to come down and take some pictures with me at breadquarters. And so I come down there. I'm like, fuck it. You know what I mean? I'm coming down there. So I get down there. He didn't show up as early as I expected. So what I did is I went inside and I saw this cardboard cutout of Dave. Very old one. Old version.
Old school.
Old
Old
school.
school.
Yeah. I saw it and I go, fuck this. And I punched this guy because it's a picture of me, right? I was pissed. And I just punched this guy. All right. So I destroyed the cardboard cutout. Next thing you know, they're calling the cops on me. it's and things escalated from there. By the evening, I ran into 3 cop cars. Um, Ended up going to jail, and then eventually getting a drug, not drug, but a mental sentence
Evaluation. Yeah.
sentence out of it. Yeah.
Man. And then at that point you guys amicably, well, not amicably, but you guys split from the company. They bought you out in some way, shape, or form, correct?
Right. Yeah. It was a different group of folks. Yeah. People down in Georgia, Flowers Foods.
Got it. And then you guys separated. At that point, you had the choice. You have a lot of money, but how did you decide to take your life back at that point? Because again, you had hit another version of rock bottom. You hit another bottom. What made you? And I know that you're now with your wife. You're now married to who you were dating at the time. How did all that start to come full circle? And that's kind of the important part for people is when you hit the bottom and then you got to the top, then you hit the bottom again. How did you make it back to that level of finding yourself again?
It's a good question. Again, it's another kind of a long story because after I got uh, I wasn't even sentenced to the mental thing yet. It's a new sentence for me. I'm gonna try to get my face in here,
You're good.
but uh, there was no sentence at this point. It was like I'm just like, oh my God, you know what happened is that having a mental moment like that. It's hard to come down from. You know, I didn't know that I could be bipolar. I didn't
Yeah.
know. I didn't. I didn't know what bipolar meant uh, until that point, and they diagnosed me as bipolar. And then so I'm taking medication for that. But what happened is I saw an article about me in the local left wing paper called Willamette Week, and you know it's all good, but it was weird because they called it Breaking Bread, and you know, and it had that. You're a young guy, you know Breaking Bad.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, this
Yeah.
was like Breaking Bad, but it was Breaking Bread.
Got it.
That's the way it looked. The logo was Breaking Bad, and I
Yeah.
thought, hey, that's funny. And then
Yeah. Clever.
then I started reading it, and I was like, what the fuck? I have never. Wait a minute. No, no. This is how you're gonna portray me. And by the time I was halfway through the article, I was laying on the floor flat, like a piece of the floor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was that bad. So you go from being like, I had this super high manic moment on that one day I was telling you about, and I didn't explain that well, but I was very high, happy, ready to go kind of guy. And then a couple weeks later, I'm hitting the ground. I'm part of the dirt. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I had not felt that way maybe ever in my whole life, and I've experienced a lot of depression in my life, but that moment right there was the worst moment of my life.
Hmm.
And because I had built up something great, I thought, and a lot of people would agree with me. And then um, all of a sudden, it's
Gone.
gone to hell. It's not only that, but it's like I was starting to think I was maybe I was full of shit, and you know everything I said was a lie. You know, so it's all that, but it really wasn't. So I got through. I kept going and going and going, and you know, eventually you just realize, you know, you have to work through these things, right? I came back to another hypomanic moment in 2014 where I'm like running around, I'm all excited, working out, doing all this stuff, doing everything right. But I never hit that down again. Sometimes I'll go the other way, but I haven't hit that down because I don't let it happen. I'm not sure how I do it.
Yeah. So then, and then you got into other hobbies as well. So, and you also and we're going to talk really quick about the charities. You're supporting a couple charities. You don't have something like Dave's Bread right now that you're working on, but at the moment you're supporting organizations that help people overcome obstacles. Again, you were on the stage with Tony Robbins. You had two organizations that you're involved with right now, which is constructinghope.org and Central City concern.org. Can you give a little idea how you got involved with them and why that's important to you?
Well, Central City is more general. You know, they help a lot of people on a lot of different levels. Homeless, uh, you know, homeless people is probably their number one thing, right? But they help people coming out of prison and stuff like that to be to
Oh, I think we might have lost him. What if he ran out of batteries? We will see shortly. We'll see if he comes back. I really want him to talk politics. Let's see. So we've got the Constructing Hope. I'm going to reach out via text, see if we got him. I hope you guys are enjoying this. I love the way that he talks because you can't get much more real than the way that he describes his story. So let me really quick shoot him a text. Hopefully we'll get him back on. If you guys missed any of this episode, again, I believe as though we accidentally crossed. Oh, he's back. I think we crossed with Casey when we started, so that's why a lot of you guys didn't get notified. I'm going to bring Dave back up. Hold on one second. Bum, bum, bum. Where's my mouse? There you go. Where'd you go?
I'm not sure. I get these little notifications, and then I hit a button. I'm gone.
Oh, you're all good. I was like, I think he might be out of batteries. So yeah, go back to what, let's see, constructinghope.org and Central City Concern is again. Sorry about that.
Well, I don't know how far I got. Central City Concern is something I care about because they work on the very basic level of helping people when they really need help, when they're ready to do help. My problem with Central City is that they don't seem to hold people accountable. You know what I mean? It's not like, well, you earn your way into a better position, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But I still believe that, you know, the basic needs of people need to be provided.
Yeah.
So then there's another organization called Constructing Hope, and it's exactly what it says. It's construction, and it provides hope. Myself, it was through construction in prison that I was able to change my life. And it was the beginning of the catalyst for my change. But in my case, it was drafting, but it's the same deal. Drafting and for construction. So I provide, you know, I just naturally want to be a part of that.
That's awesome. And then you also have the largest, one of the largest, if not the largest, African art collections in the country. So to kind of conclude at least your story, there's you refining yourself again after 2014 and what you went into. You've started working with these charities as well as getting into African art because, as you've said, you're not working at a bread company where you don't have this full-time job. You've got your passions and what you work on, and one of them is African art. How did you get to the charities and the African art? What made you go, this is what I want to do in the world?
I don't know how it happens with the charities. I've always felt like I needed to help. You know what I mean? Because I have this sense of I have an experience that needs to be shared.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that's essentially why I do that. Sometimes I get more caught up into it for other reasons. You know, people are like, well, I need this money, blah, 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 blah. And so I do that. I've done that. But my thing is, I don't really like to provide money to organizations that I don't feel strongly about. So,
Yeah.
you know, that's what that comes down to. So, and the reason why I feel strongly about something like Constructing Hope is because of my experience, right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to African art, well, that was just a moment in time where, you know, we sold out the second half of the company. Now I'm no longer involved in the company at all, right? This is 2015. What am I going to do with my time? You know?
Yeah. Right.
So I discovered eBay, and I started finding all this cool shit to put on my freaking walls. And the next thing you know, and my wife, like, she wasn't my wife then, but, you know, she was like, man, you're fucking nuts. And I'm putting all this shit on it. And then, but eventually we kind of came to sort of a agreement about how we both agree certain things are good, right? But at first I was just buying tourist pieces, and eventually, and then I bought thousands of tourist pieces. So I'm selling thousands of tourist pieces on eBay. But I also have this, but I also discovered along the way. I discovered some cool stuff that is, each piece is.
I have it up. I threw it up on the screen just so people have a general idea. Here's your website, the Discover African Art. There's some really cool stuff, and I can see like some of these kind of weird ones that I'm looking at right there that your wife would probably like. Why? Why are you buying these two hippo alligators that look like they're humping each other? Why?
Exactly. And she thought, you know what she thought? She thought I was just into some weird, really weird sex.
Great.
She's like, man, this guy, I did not know I was with this guy.
With
But
this
no,
weird
to me, it's fun. There's a reason for all that stuff, believe it or not.
Yeah. And it's interesting, and this is where I'll spin it into the last part of our conversation, because when you look at stuff like African art and you look at the weird stuff, a lot of it is historically based, much like when we say history repeats itself. And we have to realize that, like what we're going through in this country right now. And when Dave and I started talking, he told me a story on how he got into paying attention to politics. You remember what I'm talking about when you were watching CNN? I would love for you to explain.
My wife.
Yeah, your wife. Go ahead and explain how because you were not political at all until a couple of years ago. So how did you get into that?
That's really weird too, man. It seems like I've been political all my life now, but it was only a few years ago, like 3 years ago maybe, and I'm up at my penthouse and sitting outside watching TV, and my wife sees me watching CNN. And she comes up and she goes, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" I don't know what you're talking about. And she goes, "That's a bunch of bullshit." Right?
Yeah.
And it was.
Didn't you say something like, "Well, I'm watching the news," and she's like, "You call that news?"
That's basically what it was. Yeah. I told her I'm just watching the news. She goes, "That's not the news."
Yeah.
Not the news. You can go over to Fox and you can say that Fox is not the news either.
Yeah.
Finding the actual news is not easy to do.
No.
But the Fox News makes a lot more sense to me than the goddamn CNN news these days.
Well, I like.
She had to teach me that.
Yeah, and Fox has its issues, but at least it's got both sides of the coin a little bit more than CNN does.
I think so.
They're all incredibly imperfect, obviously. And as you said earlier, it's like you have to find the truth inside of the stories. So you got into it and you started speaking up. And if people see your social media, you start speaking up. And you said to me something about like where you came out and said something about Trump and it changed your relationships.
Yeah.
Give that a little bit.
Well, it was funny because it took me a minute to get there. I had, just even though I had gotten on that track and started believing the way I was believing, I had, I just was scared to come out and say it. And somebody, these youngsters, I had some young friends, right, that I was talking to, and they were like, and I'm like, when I talked to them, I started feeling like, well, you know what? There's other people who think like me too. I'm not crazy. I'm whatever. I have to say what's on my mind. Okay. And it did. It took a minute to get me the balls to do it. But I came out one night and I said, Trump's a badass. That's what I said. Right on Facebook. That was my thing, right? And people, what do you mean? He's bad, right?
No, he's badass.
People were saying stuff to me that they're like, you can't be serious, right? And I said, no, dude's once I made that decision, it was on. And Trump is a badass. And to this day, I still feel that way. But I had to deal with a lot of
Flag.
people coming. One lady that I'd known for many years, we've done a lot of stuff with. I've done a lot of stuff with her. A lot of my little goody two shoes things I used to do, which I still do. And she was like, Dave, I can't continue to be your friend if you're thinking this way. And I'm like, okay, damn it, that's too bad, isn't it? You know what I mean? But that's exactly what started happening with a lot of people. They were, and some people were talking like doxing me and all that kind of stuff. And it actually made me feel
Validated.
Yeah, in a way.
Yeah. So it's interesting just because I think a lot of us have been through that kind of come out of that closet. With Trump, I like Trump less now than I did when he was running. There's some issues that I have with it, but at the same time, I always refer to people. And you know what? Everybody on this page, they all know that I was a Trump supporter and still am compared to what's going on in this country. But when you say, badass, people would say he's an asshole. I said, but he's our asshole. Like, you know what? It's not about, and that's what politics has to be. Politics is so much about politics. Trump wasn't a politician, and that changed kind of the dynamic, and we're seeing it cause our country to unravel, not necessarily because of him, but because the natural human nature of people and the way mainstream media does it. And we were talking a little bit about censorship and what YouTube did yesterday, what they stated. What do you think are the biggest issues on why our country is starting to unravel at the seams or continuing to unravel at the seams? What are the biggest issues in your mind?
Well, I'm not sure I have any of the biggest issues. It's kind of like it's become sort of the youngsters and they're being brainwashed. The teachers and all that stuff are teaching. There's like a culture of socialism, Marxism.
Yeah.
That's essentially what I see. Marxism, modern Marxism. There's a guy, Mark Levin. I'm sure
Yeah.
Mark Levin wrote a book called American Marxism, and I've been listening to that lately, and it's what's going on. We and in my mind, sometimes I'm fortunate enough that I have the ability to build a compound. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some people don't. Most people don't. And what are we gonna do when these assholes want? Or do you just suck up and do what they say?
Right.
That's the whole deal.
Yeah. So by the way, I don't know if you know who Rose. I think it's Rose Faye, I believe, because she's the one that keeps saying she saw you at the road shows, and I guess she follows you on social media too. Because she said
I know Rose Faye.
You know Rose Faye. All right, so she's been a follower of ours for probably since Cash in the beginning. Which, by the way, talking to you reminds me of talking to Cash. Incredibly intelligent, rough around the edges. You've had a tough life, and you've made something where you've been able to speak to people. And I just want you to know, Cash has become my best friend over the last years. And I appreciate talking to you because there is this authenticity and realness in the words that you say. And you know that this isn't your thing to just talk to people. So I do want to thank you for coming on here and doing that at the same time. And
I'm not I never talk about politics.
Yeah.
Not like this.
Yeah.
If you and I were sitting here, we could talk about it. But knowing that a lot of people are listening to me right now, that makes it a little different. So, but hopefully, I was fairly coherent.
And honestly, what's funny is when you start talking politics, you seem even more comfortable than when you talk about your previous life. So it's very interesting that I think you might have found a little thing with politics because your page, I follow it now in terms of what you say and how you say it. And it's really the difference between truth and fiction these days. And that's it. And that's kind of the way you talk about it. And we talked about censorship earlier and just how absolutely ridiculous it's become and how dangerous it is. And this is kind of the last question I'll ask you, possibly one more about Costco, because I forgot to ask that. But when it comes to creating change in politics, and I know that you're still hopeful because we had that discussion on the last call, that there is still hope somewhere in this.
Yes.
When it comes, so yeah, how in your opinion, how can we get back to loving thy neighbor again and finding a way out of this political mess?
Wow, you put me on the spot.
That's a hard one. So how about this? Why are you hopeful? Why are you?
Well, I am hopeful because I believe in humanity. I believe in humans. I believe that we're decent. We're decent. I believe that we'll figure it out. I've been through enough stuff in my life where it didn't seem like things were going to work out. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and the fact that I'm even still alive. So, in my mind, we just stay positive. Stay positive. We don't kill it. We don't hack each other up. We realize that we're all human, and even when you can't stand the other person and their politics or whatever, you just gotta suck it up, and over time it'll get better. That's I do believe that we can make inroads, make a difference, and over time it'll get better. But it's not going to happen overnight.
Definitely not. We got to be patient in a world of short-term memory and instant gratification. We have to find a way to take our time. Before I ask really quick about Costco, there's a question from Susan that says, Dave, do you help others that have gotten out of prison? Don't mean to hand out, but a hand up. If so, where are you located? I know you're Portland area, but I'm assuming that's a thumbs up. I'm assuming that's part of these charities that you're a part of, correct?
Yes, everything that I am involved with is not about a handout. It's about a handout. And, I don't believe in, see, basically, if you're handing it out, you're enabling it.
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of simple, isn't it? But that tends to be the mentality of a lot of people. But the reality is, I was homeless myself at one point, right? I've been a jackass in all different sorts of ways. If you enable bad behavior, you get more bad behavior. And that's really what it's about. So yeah, I get excited about constructing hope, but that's kind of a funnel right now. It's not something that's going to fix everything. It's just one thing. Central City Concern, there's they have their good things. If I was going to start my own charity, well, I would do it my way. But as it is, I support charities that help others overcome.
I like it. I cannot wait for Cash to get out of prison because he's got streetlights. We started Streetlights Unity Movement. It was on 501c3 process. We got it locally in Indiana, and then bam, everything happened, which halted the process. It was on his name, but I think it's something you guys you're going to enjoy having that conversation. So I'm going to make sure we'll get to know each other some more.
Yeah. I want to talk some more.
Yeah, I would love to continue to talk to you. Is the Costco story a long one or a short one?
Which one?
You said when I said how you guys get an organic, expensive bread into Costco. You said
I'll make it as short as possible.
Okay.
And you know what? My thing is down below 10% right now. So if I get cut off, anyway. But
Okay, we'll be quick.
what is it? What it says? Okay, what it is like 2007, a couple years into the Dave's Code Bread. I got a letter. I got an email from Costco saying from a buyer at Costco saying, my people are my customers are asking about your bread. I was like, okay, this is great, right? Except we didn't have the ability to produce this bread at the
Scale.
time.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot of bread, and we didn't have that. But we were always thinking we needed to grow, and so we eventually got it took us a $1.5 million loan, which our bank wasn't willing to give us. This was like 2008. Nobody was doing nothing right.
Right.
And they weren't going to give us this loan. So we found somebody who was willing to give us the loan with a business plan, right? We had to have a business plan. We had to do all these different things to make this work. But we eventually got the loan. We got to move. We had to work our asses off. Most people would not go through this. Trust me. Most people would just not work this hard. That's just too hard. But you have to, when you got something, it's different. And we just kept working and working. So we made bread. We made the bread at one place while we were transferring equipment to the other place. And, it was, and then we started making bread at the new place and so on and so forth. And it was absolutely an unbelievable process. But we managed to make the bread for Costco, and that was 2009 actually. When late 2008, early 2009, we were able to make that happen. It was one of the hardest processes of my life.
It's one of those. It's like the Forrest Gump mentality. After the hurricane, shrimping was easy. You get through you survive the hurricane. You find a way to make bread when you don't have enough resources. Then all of a sudden, bread was easy after that.
Yeah, that's right. It's so incredibly. And you have to experience it to even know. You know what I mean?
I love it.
Great life though, man. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't give it up for anything.
Well, I look forward to talking to you more. Is there any what your plans are from this point forward in the next year? Like, is there anything or any message you want to leave with people based on just your life and experience? What's the final thing you want to leave on the minds of people watching this show?
Be humble. Be humble. Discover humility and then live humility. Be okay with yourself. That's really what humility is about. Is about being okay. I don't know how to instill that in someone. I just know that it was the best experiment, best change that I ever did in my life was learning to be okay with me.
I love it.
Does that make sense?
No, 100% makes sense. No,
okay.
We are always, and I've got a health group that we've started, and that whole philosophy of when you start to see success, be humble in it, and then when you get knocked down, still be the same person and find a way to keep getting back up and keep doing that. And it's the human spirit is truly amazing when you embrace it and you live inside yourself and also want to help others, which is also great. So, Dave, I'm going to end with this quote you have, and I saw you say this. You said, "Good seed is much more than a killer bread recipe. Having been a bad seed and destroying everything in my path as a troubled young man, I finally found the path of acceptance, humility, and teachability. It gives me the courage to fall down 7 times and get up 8. A great proverb and a great way to end the show. Dave, I'm hoping we'll talk again, hopefully you and I together, and then also maybe on a live where we do a little motivational pep talk for people. Now that we got your story out there, on our channel, then we can talk. I love talking to you, Dave.
All right, brother. All right. We'll talk soon. All right, bye.
Take it easy, my man. Later, Dave. And thank you guys for viewing. I appreciate it. Continue to share this episode. I know we overlapped a little bit with Casey in the beginning, so not everybody got a notification. We'll probably do a reshare on the top of the page to make sure people can watch this. Thank you guys again. Be the change you wish to see in the world. Be humble. Have humility. Love the people around you, and realize that we're all capable of change. No matter how low we think we are, or inadequate, or the things that we don't have in our life, hard work, perseverance, a little bit of talent in something, and passion will create that massive change. And next time we have him, hopefully I'll get to ask him about getting to meet Tony Robbins as well. Thank you guys, and have a good night.